Welcome to The Sarah Scoop Show. It's time to get the scoop with Sarah. Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of The Sarah Scoop Show live edition. So today I am going to be joined by Jessica, I'm sure she'll be hopping on soon, who was a contestant on Big Brother 21. So she is going to be giving us the scoop on what it was like living in the Big Brother house, what she's up to now, and all of those exciting things. So let me just give Jessica a couple of minutes to join us, and thank you guys so much for hopping on to watch. Have your questions ready because she will be answering them live. So make sure if you have any questions for Jessica, you have them ready to go. So and there she is. So I'm gonna add Jessica into our chat here. So we're waiting for her to join, but if you guys haven't, you need to go check out her Instagram. There she is. Hi, Jessica.
Hi, Sarah.
How are you?
Doing good.
Thank you so much for being able to join us last minute like this. I'm excited for people to be able to ask you questions and for us to get the scoop on everything about you.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So for anyone that is new or doesn't know you yet, you were a contestant on Big Brother 21, and I was watching some of the interviews you've done, and I think it's so cool that you were a fan of the show before you went on.
Yeah, it was something I never knew I wanted. I was that girl who grew up, watching like Real World Road Rules and then The Challenge and then, go on a Big Brother and Survivor. So I've always been kind of that reality, the reality fan. And it was something that I was always thinking to myself, I would want to do this, but I've never had the opportunity. And I didn't think that I was the type of person that could go on it. Mainly because, I'm like I would say like bigger girl. I'm average.
No, you look great. We're definitely going to touch on body positivity because I think it's amazing what you're doing, just putting yourself out there. So we're going to have to talk all about that. But going back, you mentioned, you didn't think that was going to come your way. How did that all work for you? How did you end up on Big Brother?
Okay, so crazy story. I actually got contacted. So I was actually recruited to go on the show. However, I was actually, the day that I got contacted, so I was actually creating a video for Big Brother on the day that I got contacted for myself and one of my best friends. So we're like going through, I'm like recording her and we're going through, what should we say? You need to say this, this, and this. And then I get like a DM and my friend was so mad.
You were like, it's meant to be.
Yeah, that was when it was just like, wow, this is truly meant to be. Like, I mean, I didn't really know that I was going to get on the show until literally the very last week. And they're really good at not saying things. So I really didn't know that I was going to get taken until that very last week. But I had that inkling that this was it.
That is such a crazy thing to happen. Like, you're in the middle of making the video and then you get a message. Like, that is pretty crazy.
Like, on the same day, it was a little ridiculous. That day, my friend was like, okay, so we know this isn't happening for me. Because, like, if they contacted you and we were already planning on, doing our own separate, things, then more than likely you're going to do it. And then fast forward to like my finals week, when I told her that I was moving to finals, she told me she was pregnant. And I was like, yay! So she wasn't mad.
Yeah.
I've been able to do it anyway. So that was kind of like the universe, universe telling me that this was, this is what was going to happen.
Yeah. And so one thing, like we were talking about for a minute earlier, and I want to go back to that. One thing that I feel like was really cool is you had spoke about, like, you wanted to be a person that wasn't usually seen on the show. So absolutely. Talking about, body positivity and just like being yourself, how did that all work for you?
You know what? I feel like it's always a double-edged sword. I mean, you get the good along with the bad, right? For me, I think game-wise, it didn't help because it was funny. I was actually told by one ex-house guest, not from my season, but from a previous one, that the reason that I was there to support, not support a cause, but I was there to represent a certain person, that I was automatically going to be deemed boring and and safe in a game setting, right? Because I have something to prove. For me, it was like one of the things that I was like super gung-ho about was like, I'm a big girl. Big girls deserve to be on TV. They deserve to be represented by the media. And they can also do challenging things like this show. That's what I wanted to show. But at the same time, I was really scared to really show myself because I was representing so many people. And as people, we are multifaceted, right? So we can be mean, we can be soft, we can be loud, we can be at any given time. And I didn't want to get a stereotypical edit. So I was playing safe. I was definitely playing safe. And although it got me to a really good spot at the end, I came out and some people didn't necessarily agree with it. Some people loved me and other people were just like, she's boring. There wasn't much to do, but I just wanted to be on air as much as possible to really represent, what it meant to be a bigger woman on TV. But then it also didn't show on my strategic side because I do love the game and I do love, to play those, strategically and things of that nature. But
and
you can't have it all.
As a model, because before you went on the show, you were already doing like plus size modeling, is what you call it, right? Like that's your title and your job. But had you done like camera work, like where was that different? I guess because I mean, camera as in you were getting your photo taken, but was it different living in that house with the cameras, or were you kind of prepared for that with your modeling career?
I think that. Yes, well, to answer the question, yeah, I have been on camera, not just, print work or, e-com work, which is what the majority of what I do in the fashion modeling industry. But I've done commercials. I've been on sets, nothing quite like Big Brother. Big Brother, the cameras are just cameras. There are no people behind the cameras. You can't see people. So it's literally a house of just you and those 15 other people. And so a lot of the times you forget that camera's there. You can't really control the angles because cameras are everywhere, So you're just kind of like living your life. But I mean, being one of the older people on set, me being in my 30s and like them being in their 20s, me being the older girl, I kind of knew that, what I wanted to stay away from, but I'm also not a problematic person. I typically don't tend to be a problematic person. So like I've learned in my 20s that I can't always, that the things that you say do hurt other people. And those are just things that you learn, along life. And I've kind of passed that age range where I'm like, if you don't really want to hurt people, you don't want to, have to, say you're sorry, then don't say it. So there were a lot of things that I kind of like bit my tongue at. And, so like knowing that the cameras are always there, it is something that I'm very, very used to. But that's not to say that, I wasn't representative of who I am, because I'm typically not, I wouldn't say anything in real life that I wouldn't say on camera, I don't think, unless it's something super personal or somebody else's story, which is probably the hardest when you're in a house like that and you want to talk about other people and you can't because, you just can't.
Well, I think you did an amazing job just like representing women of all like shapes and sizes and everything. And you really portray that on your Instagram as well. So you actually had shared a post where you were talking about like a before and after. and it was much different than what we typically see. And I thought that was really just great because it was all about confidence. And I just want you to touch on that for anyone watching that might be like struggling with their own confidence.
Oh, absolutely. Look, I think that that's just the society that we live in. We're all very much conditioned to think that a before and after is a fat and now skinny, you know, or fat and then, or thinner, or I lost 20 pounds, you look amazing. And it's like, no, you look amazing just the way you are. And I feel that women don't understand that quite enough because we've been conditioned to think otherwise. So my before and after was just, you know, it was actually a reverse because I used to be thinner. But when I was thinner, I still felt like I needed to lose weight, you know, and I don't ever say that I feel fat because fat is not a negative thing. It's just something that belongs on everybody's body. You know, everybody has a certain amount of fat on them. Everybody, like, we've taken this word and we've made it into such a negative, you know, a negative phrase. And there are women right now that are hardcore fat advocates and saying, like, it doesn't matter whether you're fat or you're skinny, but, you know, to use that word and make it into a negative is just, you know, it's just wrong, you know, mainly because even if you are fat, which some women take and they say, yeah, I'm fat and what, you know, I'm healthy. You can be fat and you can be overweight given the BMI body, you know, mass index, and still be healthy and still be active and still have love and still be married and still run marathons and still, you know, and even if you are fat, you can still be that and happy, and you deserve the clothes, you deserve the fashion, you deserve, you know, everything that a regular woman deserves. We all have cellulite. Cellulite is fat, you know, compartmentalized in certain areas, trapped in bubbles, like whatever it is, you know. But the fact that, so that's just kind of like where I come from with that. You know, it's just taking that word fat, and when someone says it and be saying like, oh, like this part of my fat, okay, I'm fat. No, you're not fat, you're beautiful. Well, who says that fat and beautiful don't go together? You know what I mean? Like, who made up that term? Like, why isn't it? Like, there are I know a lot of fat, beautiful women. I consider myself to be a fat, beautiful woman, you know, because nobody's going to look at me and say that I'm thin. I'm a size 18. Nobody would say that a size 18 is a thin woman, but I'm married, you know, I'm active, I'm happy. And that's something that I didn't know when I was a size 10 or an 8, you know, and my thinnest. I always thought I was fat and I was unhappy, you know, so that's kind of a little dig into why I posted that.
No, I think that's great. And you're using your platform. Like, what I really liked about you is like, you went on the show saying like, I want to be body positivity. And now you're still like, if you can see the comments that people are saying, I mean, someone just commented how you pretty much helped her have the confidence to wear a two-piece, and like that she's gained so much from following you. Hopefully you can see some of these, and feel free if anyone comments or asks you a question while we're talking, like you can just go in, like feel free to cut me off or whatever. But it's just really cool to see that like what we saw on TV is what we're seeing here, and that you are, you know, spreading that message, because it's an important time that everyone is uplifting each other.
Absolutely. I think that we should. I don't think that calling someone fat should be, you know, a derogatory, you know, term, and that those words should hurt somebody. I don't think a woman should look in the mirror and say, oh my gosh, I'm so fat, as if that's like the worst thing in the world. Like, you know, there's so many other things that we could be worrying about in the world other than our weight. And the fact that we obsess over weight also doesn't make us present in the moment and enjoy like those moments in life. Like, You know, when do we go to a beach or go to a pool party and actually enjoy what we're doing versus wondering how we're looking like in our bikinis or in our swimsuits? You know, and then you think like later on, man, you go back to pictures because you may have gained more weight since then, and you're like, oh my God, I looked amazing back then. Like, what was I worried about? And then you can't remember anything other than how fat you were feeling, even, you know? So those things just don't, you know, like that's kind of one of those things that I try to instill in women. Like, even if you're thinner than me, and me being bigger and me having this confidence helps you understand like how amazing you look, or if you're bigger and I tend to be your ideal body size, or, you know, I mean, just because, you know, I say like you know, just because we say we're fat or we have fat or whatever we are, it doesn't mean that we don't strive to lose a couple extra pounds. I'm not saying, you know, that we should stay there if that's not how we feel, but like the feeling of fat just doesn't really exist. It's a feeling of like you feel depressed, you feel, you know, like low, like you have low energy, you don't have, you know, like these are certain feelings, but fat's not a feeling. You know what I mean? So if you're fat and you're happy, amazing. You like celebrate it. Wear your two-piece. Yeah. You deserve the fashion. You deserve the love. You know, if you gained weight and it started to like mess with your, you know, the healthy parts of you, if you're not feeling as active as you used to be, then work on it. But you still deserve the same amount of love, you know, and the same amount of opportunities. So yeah, that's just my feeling.
And so going back to that, like, you know, you decided I deserve this opportunity to go on Big Brother. What was it like? I know you mentioned like going through finals when you got that key to that house and all of that. Like, what was going through your head at that point in your life?
Oh my gosh, it was a whirlwind. Like, I mean, you're working on 3 months of being away from your loved ones, and I have a husband and a daughter. So it was just one of those things that made me like, holy crap, like I'm going to be gone for almost like, it could be 100 days, you know, and like not like just preparing yourself mentally for that, you know, for that ride. It also is, who am I going to be there with? I hope I make friends. I hope I like these people. And then of course it's just like, wow, all eyes are definitely, you know, going to be on you for a whole summer. So like, it's a mix of just anxiety and nervousness. And then like for Big Brother fans, if they know who Julie Chen is, just, you know, going and seeing her face and it confirming that you're doing these things. And then of course me as like coming in there as a plus size woman, knowing that I am the first plus size model to have been on the show in 21 seasons, it's almost like a milestone for me. You know, I kind of felt like I broke, so I'm hoping, you know, I broke some barriers in showing people that not only did they pick someone who was outside of societal norms and what you see in reality on TV, she's out of it. And, you know, I've had to even deal with, you know, the uniforms, even up to the uniforms when we would do competitions, you know, and kind of fight for having cute stuff on me because I'm a model. I'm used to wearing a certain amount, like either fashion, or I want to look just as cute as the rest of the girls. I didn't want to wear guy clothes because they were too, you know, because they were too, for lack of a better word, lazy to go and find something in my size, you know, that all the other girls could wear. Because I mean, that's what plus size is just, right. I can't wear a regular size small through large, sometimes extra large if a store has it, you know what I mean? So making sure, you know, in competitions, we kind of all wear very similar things, or we're in different colors. So I think I gave them a run for their money in all of that. But
and where do you stand today, like with your fellow housemates? Do you still keep in contact with a lot of them, or?
With a good majority. Yeah, with a good majority of them. I think that, you know, we all, it's just like in the house. You know, some have closer relationships than others. Obviously, some I don't, to be honest with you, talk to at all. Others, you know, will be in a group text. I might, you know, message them once a month, sometimes every day. I mean, like, it really, really, I think it really depends.
Yeah, I mean, you bonded probably over, I mean, obviously an experience that very few people have had the chance to do. So
yeah,
it's cool to see, you know, kind of where it goes from that summer to where you are now.
Absolutely. And I mean, and it also gave us opportunity to connect with older, you know, with previous house guests and really connect with them on that level too. So even some of us have like really good relationships with other seasons. And yeah, and so it's a lot. But of course I also have like a big friends and family here in Chicago, so it's hard to kind of constantly try to figure out how everybody else is doing. So we do keep in touch every once in a while.
And do you have any regrets or anything about how you played the game, or anything that you would go back and change, or I guess give advice? Like, we don't really know for sure what's happening with this summer's housemates, but advice to them from your own gameplay?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, so I used to watch, you know, Big Brother. I do still watch Big Brother, but obviously the seasons haven't started since I've been on the show. But one of the things that I did was I was just someone who watched the regular shows, like the edited versions of the shows, and I never watched live feeds. So I never considered myself to be a super fan, but I was a fan. And not watching the live feeds, yeah, I would have known to do a lot of things differently. And
that's a really good point, though, because like as somebody that also watches, I forget about the live feeds.
The live feeds are so important, and here's the thing, and here's the reason why. So much of the show is edited, and not like purposely to, it is purposely, but what I'm saying is it's to cut down to 3 shows a week, but we're on 24/7. So as you can imagine, there's so much context, there's so much information that doesn't get shown, and a lot of gameplay that doesn't get shown either, as well as our diary room sessions. So when I was playing, a lot of the things, I didn't trust anybody. So I used diary room sessions to kind of work through my process, and there was very little that I said to anybody or to the cameras. Like, there were certain people who used the cameras to their gameplay and explained what they were doing so that they didn't look crazy, and I just looked crazy. So it is, you know, like, they would be like, why did Jessica do that? Like, why did, you know, she choose so-and-so for, you know, for the POV, which, you know, was just the veto, the power of veto, you know, for certain competitions. Why did she not choose this person? Why did she put this, you know, there were so many questions, and it came down to, like, there were certain reasons why I kept myself out of certain situations. And I wasn't able to explain that. So that was just kind of like my main regret, I guess, was to be able to actually talk to the cameras and say, like, I'm not buying this, or this person's insane. Like, I'm not, you know, going to do that. I told them I was going to do this, but I'm not going to do that, you know, because they don't, I mean, they show whatever they want in the edits, you know, or whatever works the narrative. And if it doesn't, then you're unfortunately not being shown.
Yeah, that makes more sense. I mean, you're saying like someone should just explain their game a little more.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially for live, I think it's more so for live feeders. The reasonings why people are picked. I didn't know that people were so big into strategy. Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I'm like frozen, right? Am I frozen?
You're frozen, and it's like a circle around you, but I can still hear you. Oh, now you're back.
Okay, great. Yeah. Wait, where were we? Sorry. Can you hear me?
No, you're fine. I'm just making sure it doesn't freeze on you again. Yeah. This is the fun of live, right?
Yeah, that's the fun of live, exactly. I don't know exactly what I was gonna say though.
Sorry, it keeps cutting back.
I am using the McDonald's Wi-Fi. Someone's saying Jessica's using the McDonald's Wi-Fi. I was like, I am only on Wi-Fi right now. That is true because I'm using my old phone, but my Wi-Fi should be fine.
Yeah, you're fine. I think your point about live feeds was awesome. Someone I saw ask a question, and I was going to ask you about this too. They asked if your relationship got stronger when you were away, and I was watching how you shared. Again, like, I just love how open you are with everything. You shared how you met your husband, and I feel like it's kind of a cool story with quarantine happening now. So I feel like it would be fun for you to kind of talk about how you met your husband, and if your relationship like answered their question. I don't know what happened strengthening your relationships.
Absolutely. Like, I met my husband on Match, so, and that was almost 10 years ago, so it's been a while. We've been married for 3, and being was very, very hard, and I think it did. There were 3 months of him in contact with me and him having to take care of a lot of things that I usually would take care of. And so, you know, there was a lot of, I think I came back with him really acknowledging what I contribute to the relationship, and then also seeing how, you know, how some people treated me in the house. Like the season was a little controversial, and so there were things that he knew that I was going through inside the house in particular, and he was amazing. He was amazing. Just I can't even talk enough about it. Like, when you have that type of support I'm let's just say that.
Yeah, and so for Big Brother people, like fans that are watching me, when you go on the show, you really do not have contact with anyone besides the people in the house.
Absolutely. Like, it's you know, it's hard. It becomes a hard transition outside of the house too, because, you know, you're used to 15 people in a house, and that's the only people you see for 3 months. And so obviously we're very strong in the beginning, and all we know is to talk Big Brother and be Big Brother, because that's what you have basically learned to do. And then slowly but surely going back into real life situations. And then, of course, the quarantine. Then we're back in. And then we're back into kind of this social distancing of sorts. So,
do you feel like going back to your gameplay, that you, like, forming your alliances and everything is a smart move for people?
Wait, what was the question?
Like, with your alliances, like forming alliances, like from the beginning, is that, like, in your opinion, is that a smart move to do? Or, because I remember, like, in one interview I watched with you, you said, you know, you kind of just wanted to slide under the radar, but you didn't think you'd be able to do that, which I feel like it would be really hard to do. And so, like, do you think it's good to just, like, going back, do you think that is a way that people should play, to, like, kind of, like, slide around or form alliances right at the get-go and get going in a competitive nature?
See, there's a little bit of both to this, right? Because I came in not wanting to form any alliances in the beginning, not really understanding that you definitely have to at least be on the right side of the numbers. So that was I think the hardest part. Do I believe in early alliances? Depending on why those alliances are exist, because as we can see, a lot of alliances that start on day one end up breaking up by like the 20th day. So while it'll get you probably safe for the first week or two, typically, I mean, we're talking about a big alliance that ended up forming in the very beginning of the show, and I pretty much outlived all of those people, you know. So sometimes you really do have to figure out like why you're in that alliance, you know. But the true, like, I think like the true long alliances end up happening kind of like within the middle, you know, kind of happen within the middle. But you still do need to find people that you aligned with, whether you call it an alliance or not.
Right. Okay. And then someone asked, what is your favorite of the competitions?
My favorite competitions. Wow, there were so many of them. I would definitely say one of my favorite, in having so much fun in it, was Oktoberfest, which was the beer competition. And that one was the one that Jackson Mickey won. However, it wasn't my favorite because I was going to win it. It was just literally fun. It was one of the only times where I enjoyed a competition that I knew I wasn't going to win, but it was just so much fun slip fighting, and like I felt we had fun, you know, in that competition.
You're also, okay, this question's a little bit funny. People ask, what was the hardest part about Big Brother? Just showering, and you like the bathroom, are the cameras in front of you? Are they all around the house?
Absolutely.
Oh, no, I can't hear you.
I mean, it's not for the faint of heart, for sure. Hear me now?
Yes. Sorry, it keeps cutting in and out for me. Now I can hear you now.
Yeah. So ultimately, you know, being cameras everywhere. Obviously, yes, our cameras in the showers, there are cameras in the bathroom, like above the toilet. There's pretty much cameras everywhere. You have zero privacy. So, I mean, it's literally to the point where you have to forget that they even exist. The greatest thing about being on Big Brother is that it's literally a one in a lifetime opportunity for absolutely anybody, whether you have a good experience on it or a bad experience. You know, everybody's different, but I know it has taught each and every one of us something different. So, you know, it's definitely a once in a lifetime opportunity. It's something that I don't think a lot of people will ever get to experience. You know, I spent 79 days inside of a house with, you know, up to 15 people living and competing and doing these crazy challenges and playing what is considered to me one of like the most intense games that you could ever play. Like, you know, and if you're a gamer in any way, you know, if you like to play strategic games, even if you like to play, I don't know, Monopoly, you know, and you find yourself to be a very competitive person by nature, like it's so amazing. And to be friends now with people that I would never in a million years have ever thought that, you know, I would be friends with, you know, meet so many people from all different parts of the country. And now being a part of this, you know, this reality family, and being able to, meet and kind of have a commonality with some people that I've been standing for a really long time is really insane to me.
That is so great. I love that. And also, you touched earlier on how you were one of the older players. How, what's your thoughts on that? Because I feel at 39 years old, like, you are not an older player to be playing in the Big Brother house, but I totally understand what you mean by the usual casts are usually in their 20s or whatever.
Absolutely. Like, I mean, as soon as you hit the 30 mark, you kind of realize that you're not in your 20s anymore. Typically, in Big Brother history, like an average would be in the late 20s, early 30s. So you have that mix, plus you end up having a couple of older characters, maybe in their 40s, and then you get, you know, a couple, like not even a couple, but like that one person who's in their 50s or their 60s. So like before, typically there would be a little bit more of a diversity in age diversity, right? My season wasn't all that. It was like me, who's in my mid 30s, and then Cliff, who's like 55. So it was and then everybody else was in their 20s. So it was a little there's just life lessons, you know, things that I would look at and laugh at, and I'd be like, okay, I got to remember that they're, you know, they're younger. So, and it, you know, I mean, clubbing at 22 is different than when you're clubbing, you know, at 31. Those are two very, very different types of, you know, mindsets. So I honestly went in thinking that it was going to be a little bit more diverse in that type of thinking. Whereas what I would think that maybe there was a certain type of immaturity level to it. And not saying that in a bad way, like they're all great people, but I mean, even in my 30s, I'm learning and I'm growing. And I feel like even people in their 50s can learn and grow. And I'm teaching my parents things, you know what I mean? So yeah, there was a big difference in that.
Right. So with, you know, you going on this show and bringing about change and all that, what are your hopes for Big Brother? I mean, we don't know, like, if, at least I haven't seen a total confirmation if it's going to be an all-star season or what, but just in general, with the future of Big Brother, like, what are your personal hopes?
I think my personal hopes, and I actually really do hope that they have something this year. I didn't realize how much people, you know, enjoy this show and make it a part of their, you know, of their summer. And I've gotten in contact with a lot of families that, you know, use it as a way to bond with like their families. And I even bonded with my family being on the show and them watching me, because it actually helped them bond and talk on a more, you know, and talk more routinely than they usually would. So it was really fun. But like my hope is for Big Brother in particular is for them to keep up with or increase their diversity. And when I mean diversity, I'm not just talking about race, right? Because we are kind of going through this a really big time in our history, right? But I believe in diversity of all kinds. Not, you know, I believe in race diversity, age diversity, size diversity. I think that we all know by now in 20 seasons or 21 seasons what this social experiment does. So mix it up and try a different social, you know, experiment. What would it look like if there were equal parts of everybody, you know what I mean? And not just a majority of one. So you need to kind of mix it up, because not, like I say, not all Latino people are the same. Not all Black people are the same. Not all white people are the same. Not, you know, just like you have blondes and brunettes, and you can't say a blonde, you know, acts this way and a brunette acts that way. You like, we all are, you know, we are all different, and we all have different biases. We all, you know, I could be Latina and I could have been raised where I listen to a lot of country music, and and you know, wear cowboy hats, and you know, and eat specific types of foods and hang out with, you know, specific type of people. Or I could be, you know, something completely different. Like, and I think that that's the importance of the diversity factor of it. It's like, we're not all the same person, just because, you know, one white person, one Black person cannot speak for everybody. You kind of have to have that diversity so that you can see all facets, you know, of that individual.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And I think that there's like this whole, I know we've had our cuts, ins and outs, but there's so much valuable information that you've shared with people today. And I really hope that they will like sit down and listen, like just your, like, you know, the overall confidence message and just be who you are. And I love all of that. So what has like life been like for you now after the show and back to like, what's it like now?
Yeah, it's, you know, it's been an interesting ride. Right after Big Brother, like I went right back into work. I had, you know, right after I had photo shoots and I was, you know, on the Bold and the Beautiful, because that's kind of like what I did, like coming right after
Which
the
is
show.
amazing, by the way. What a cool.
Oh my God. It, you know, it completely changed my mind on what I would potentially want to do in the future. And so like I have been seriously thinking about getting into more of the, you know, of the acting portion of it and the hosting. Right now, obviously, I mean, but then I've just been modeling for the time after and doing some projects there. And then the pandemic, you know, and then the pandemic hit. So
it like put a hold on everyone's
it
lives.
did.
Like
It, yeah, it definitely, the pandemic, I know it kind of slowed everything down for everybody, put us back in this kind of bubble, so to speak. So really, I feel like I've just been surviving. A lot of our sets went, you know, turned off, and a lot of the work that I've been doing has kind of been either from home through influencer work or working with specific brands online. So it's been a little bit of a weird transition, but also just, you know, surviving, having, you know, to spend the majority of your time like cooking breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and, you know, and being okay with not being okay sometimes, and trying to find a new routine and things. And so that's, I know that a lot of people probably feel very similar in that sense, and just trying to find the new normal and what that looks like, and, you know, trying to cut off screen time sometimes to just kind of get back into your center. Like I'm a very spiritual person, so I just kind of like really try. It's definitely been a time to look within yourself and kind of figure out what you want, you know, for your future. So, I mean, I do have some projects that are coming up. I can't say because they're not set in stone. Nothing's ever set in stone. Things are very fluid where, you know, I come from. So
yeah. Are you still back in Chicago then? Is that where you are living with your family?
Yeah, I'm currently in Chicago, and that's where I'm quarantined. I've been asked to kind of do some traveling, and I don't know how I feel about that yet. You know, so just kind of trying to get the feels out and just kind of see, like, I mean, now that everybody, well, for us, we're already on phase 4, so people are going to, you know, restaurants and bars outside and whatnot, but, you know, cases are rising, so I think they're gonna like bring it down a notch and kind
of
just
this crazy, scary time. But
yeah,
and exciting that you have stuff planned for the future. Where like I know you said you can't share yet, but like people can keep following you online. Where is the best way?
Right now, I'd probably say the best way to kind of know what I'm up to is probably Twitter, to be quite honest. I feel like I tweet a lot more than I Instagram.
That makes me so excited, because so I've been, you know, doing this for a long time, and when I first started, Twitter was the thing, and I'm like, I need to get back into that. You're reminding me.
Yeah. I mean, me too. I had a Twitter account, but I was not active whatsoever. It was always Instagram for me, but that was because I was always posting of me being on set and like photographs and things. But obviously with, you know, the pandemic and such, I hardly wear makeup. Like, I don't want to wear makeup sometimes. And I feel like with Instagram, you kind of, it has to be like that perfect picture and with the caption, and it's so much more thought out. I mean, and I'll do stories when I, you know, if I'm working on my garden or things of that nature. Yeah. But I mean, otherwise, Twitter is, if I have a random thought, I don't even have to work about.
Well,
I don't have to worry about that.
So if there's a Big Brother, hopefully something comes soon. Will you be live tweeting it?
With I guess it depends. I guess it depends if I'm able to. But yes, like if I'm at a position where I can like post about it, then I will. Yeah, and I will be watching for sure. If it happens, hopefully it will. And I will definitely, be putting my 2 cents. It's so much more fun when you're talking about other people than yourself.
It would be cool to hear like your perspective after being part of it, like, and then fresh eyes.
Absolutely. And I tried doing that, and it's really weird. I tried doing that for Big Brother Canada, and it was a little weird to kind of watch live feeds and see these people and then compare it to kind of what I've been through, because there's so much more of an understanding there that I think everybody who's a house guest can attest to. There's just something about being in it where it's really hard to say they should have done A, B, and C, because to be quite honest, like until you get there and you know how those particular people respond to you, there's very limited things that you can do. It's very
well, Jessica, thank you. I know I've taken like an hour of your time, but we will get this video all fixed up so people can watch it. But thank you so much for talking with me. You were a pleasure, and I just thank you again for just your positive attitude and portraying so many great things into the world.
No, thank you so much for having me. Sorry about the technical difficulties here. Obviously, my phone has not seen an Instagram live in a few, so, or at least this phone is new, so I don't know why it acted up, but thank you for having me. Thank you everybody who tuned in and asked questions. Like for sure, if you have any more questions, I usually respond to a lot of my DMs. I'm not shy from answering questions by all means. So
yeah, flood your inbox.
Yeah. Oh well, I haven't flooded my inbox, but if I look at it, I'm pretty sure I will respond in a timely manner, unless I'm, I don't know, cleaning or cooking that, I don't know.
Well, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And like I said, we will get, this all fixed up and reshared. So anyone that didn't listen, I'm going to encourage everyone, because you have so many great messages, and I just really appreciate how open and honest you were. And hopefully maybe we'll see you on TV again.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I hope so too. I hope that you will see a lot more of me soon.
Awesome. Thank you again.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for watching The Sarah Scoop Show. Head to sarahscoop.com for more.